Phyllis is no stranger to the university. She's been with us since January, when a staff member had mentioned about a program that she had gone through with Phyllis and Phyllis's program. So we brought the program here in January, and since then we're in our third session of BeeFit Healthy Eating here. And we've got some of the folks who are in the program here, and we have some new faces. Phyllis Bullins is a registered nurse and dietitian, and she's developed a program that has helped so many people, not only in our community, but outside of our community. She was just sharing one story, and she doesn't like to brag, but I'll ask her to share that story real briefly about your most recent success story. But in terms of success stories here, just to give you an idea, through the BeeFit program, there are 4 people in the HR office, 4 people who lost over 120 pounds doing simple stuff. And if you want to learn more about it, you can talk to Phyllis, you can talk to some of the other ones in the program, you can talk to me. I was motivated because of an increase in my life insurance, and 30 pounds later, I'm here to talk about it and sing Phyllis's praises. Today's program, because we know that not everyone has the ability to go through a 16-week program or commit to that early on, we're going to do some lunch and learn type programs where you can get some healthy bites and get a little bit of information that will hopefully help you. She is a wealth of information, and we are absolutely thrilled to have her here. If you have any questions about the BeeFit program or about future programs that we might offer with Phyllis and Phyllis' staff, just see Lindsay or me after the program, and we'd be happy to engage you in some conversation about it. So, no further ado,
Thank you very much. So, I am Phyllis Bullins, a registered nurse, a licensed nutritionist, and about 15 years ago, I lost 100 pounds. Been able to keep that 100 pounds off for 15 years. So, when I started my journey, I was a registered nurse. I was taking care of a lot of people, and I saw a lot of people sick in relation to their weight. I tried every program that was available to me, and a lot of those programs worked. But as soon as I would stop doing my diet, I would gain back what I lost and then some. That's when I decided I had to get some education. So I went back to school. I learned everything I could about eating and about nutrition and what food does to my body, and developed the Living Healthy, Living Well program, which is truly a nutrition class. We teach nutrition. Through that program, you change your health. For many of us, it's in relation to losing weight. A lot of the food choices that we make are processed. A lot of the food choices that we make are very low in nutrition, and they seem to stimulate us to want more foods with less nutrition, which equates to extra pounds. So not only do we teach how to lose and maintain weight, but we help people that have high blood pressure or heart disease or diabetes or cancer or an array of things learn how to use food as your medicine. And that's kind of where I want to speak today. Our lunch and learns typically last about 30 minutes, but I want it to be very casual. So if you have questions, please interrupt me. We want to answer your questions. We want you to go home with something. And we're not just going to focus on weight today. We're going to focus on a nutrient that during the winter months seems to be an issue even more so than any other time of the year. That nutrient, that mineral, is sodium. Sodium is a mineral that's in salt, and a lot of us consume more of that than we need. And we think it's pretty innocent. We think it's something that just flavors food, but it's not innocent. And as we age, if we continue to consume too much sodium, we are going to have some terrible effects. So if we can put some things together now, pay them forward throughout the year, not only are we going to change our taste buds and start to enjoy things that are less salty, but we're also going to prevent some of those issues that occur from having too much salt. So first, how much is too much salt? Well, it's different depending on our age and any diseases that we might have. We all need about 200 milligrams a day. That is almost nothing. If you are 50 or older, if you have high blood pressure, if you have heart disease or any kidney or renal disease, you should have 1,500 milligrams or less. Anyone that is younger than 50 and healthy can have up to 2,300 milligrams. So that's about a teaspoon. If we look at how much sodium the typical American eats, it's between 3,000 and 5,000 milligrams. Now I'm going to give you some examples of where some sodium is. If you go out to PF Chang's and you have their pork noodles, their pork lo mein, and you eat one serving, that's without the appetizer or without the soup or without the dessert, just the entree, there's 7,900 milligrams in that. If on your way home tonight you stop and you buy a bag of pretzels, and you eat the bag of pretzels, pretzels are thought to be a low-fat, nutritious food, right? You just consume 900 milligrams of sodium. If you go to Panera and you have your bowl of soup is going to be very calorie-friendly, but it's going to be at least a gram of sodium. So why is it so important to be within that 1,500 milligrams or 2,300 milligrams? Well, when we eat more salt than our body needs, it stays in our bloodstream. We have an increased amount of sodium running through our body. When it is going through our body and it's touching our vessels, because salt is corrosive, those vessels become inflamed. Not inflamed to the point that you have a fever, but there's some inflammation going on. If you look at some of Heloise's tips on how to clean a toilet or get scum out of your coffee pot, one of the first things she's going to tell you to do is to add some salt. If you look at any of your cleaning products in your kitchen or in your bathroom, they're all going to have sodium in some form. Salt is corrosive. We need some salt, but it is very corrosive. So when it's in our bloodstream and it's touching those vessels and they become inflamed, they lose their elasticity. So it's like they've been rumsprung. So instead of stretching when they need to, they stay really, really tight. And that causes our blood pressure to go up. Because it's corrosive and it's touching the line of those vessels, that inflammation causes scar tissue. And scar tissue makes those vessels no longer be slippery. So then things stick to those vessels, and we can have some plaque formation. So we've got this extra salt running through our blood vessels, and it is damaging those vessels. Now, the way to get rid of the salt is it's got to go through our kidneys. Well, on the way to our kidneys, it's going through everything in our body. And when that extra salt is close to our bones, it leaches calcium from our bones. So we have an increased amount of calcium in our bloodstream. Well, that calcium has to get out through our kidneys. And as it filters through our kidneys, it can form these little stones called kidney stones that are very painful to get rid of. So not only do we have bone loss, we have the potential for high blood pressure, we have the potential for blocked arteries, all because we're eating too much salt. Yeah.
So can it constrict your circulation as well? Or?
Well, what happens is those vessels can only hold so much, and salt will cause water to go inside your vessels. Okay? So then there's extra water, but we lost the pliability. So there's extra water that's exploding in there, and it is like you're retaining water. You are having a weight gain in relation to eating too much salt. Really good question. So we started out with an innocent bag of pretzels or a dinner out, and we've got heart disease, high blood pressure, and kidney stones, right? Ouch! So when we look at ways to rein in salt, there is natural occurring salt, sodium, in most of our foods. It's naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables. It is naturally occurring in dairy products and in meat and protein. So what else are we going to eat? We are going to be eating foods that have sufficient sodium in them. Some things that we can do is learn the difference. The Snyder pretzels has about 1/10 of the amount of salt as the rolled golds. So if we start to read labels, we can recognize things that have extra sodium. We can look at our cheese board and know that feta and blue cheese and Parmesan are off the charts in sodium, but the Swiss cheeses, the goat cheeses, are lower in sodium. So we're going to make sure we put some of those on our cheese board. We can recognize that cottage cheese is very high, but ricotta is not. So if our recipe calls for cottage cheese, maybe we'll replace it with the ricotta because that's going to be lower in sodium. So just learning some of these little things is going to help to keep our sodium level down. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can look at cultures that tend to eat as much salt as we do, but don't have any of those ill effects. That culture is the Mediterranean. And you know, they're eating olives. One black olive has 45 milligrams of sodium. I sit down with 10 in my bowl. They eat feta cheese, one of the highest sodium cheeses. But they don't have the high blood pressure, the heart disease, the kidney stones, or the bone loss. Their ladies age straight up instead of looking at their feet. So we could imitate what they are doing. But what we've got to do is figure out what it is that's different in their choices and in our choices. The thing that's different is the amount of potassium that's in their body. So if we have a problem with enjoying too much salt, then if we can focus on adding things to our choices that have a lot of potassium, we can neutralize some of those effects of added sodium. So foods that have a lot of potassium are anything that grows on a vine. First, peas, pumpkins, all the squashes, excellent choices. A tomato, in particular a sun-dried tomato, very high potassium. Mushrooms, I see everybody going, ooh! Mushrooms, very high in potassium. So you got your numbers of how much sodium you need. Now, the potassium that you need is almost double that. 4,700 milligrams a day of potassium we need in our diet. Well, one of my jobs is to review what people eat, and I'm telling you that it is a rare occasion that I look at a journal of an American, and they are getting anywhere close to the amount of potassium that they needed in their food choices. So incorporating those foods that have a lot of potassium regularly is going to be really important. Now, the other thing that has a lot of potassium is some herbs. Some of those Mediterranean herbs. Mint, oregano, basil, they are chock full. A cup is going to give you 2 days' supply. So incorporating herbs instead of salt in the kitchen is going to help tremendously. And we can start that next week when everyone cooks for Thanksgiving, right? So we can start that by pulling out some of those herbs, and even if the recipe doesn't call for it, throw them in. Now, I don't recommend anyone ever to go out and get a potassium supplement and start taking it. Kind of the American way is give me a pill and make me better. Well, a potassium supplement can be detrimental. So our body uses supplements a lot differently than it does the real food. So my recommendation is to get your potassium in real foods and to start to learn some foods that might have potassium in it. That's one of the reasons I brought in these Amazins today. Here's my little infomercial, right? So Amazins are sodium-free, and each one of those little bags, I think, has 200 milligrams of potassium. So most dried fruit does have a large amount of potassium. Raisins are a really good choice for potassium. Now, this is a plum, guys. This is a prune. But they marketed it so it looks like a little raisin, and people will eat Amazins, but they won't eat prunes. So incorporating things like this on a regular basis is going to help to offset the salt and the amount of potassium, so that in our bodies we're not having those problems with the high blood pressure and the blocked arteries and the bone loss and the kidney stones. Those are all biggies. And when we look at the top things that ail Americans, that's where they are. And those are things that we can really do something about with our food choices. And it's not even that we have to give up a lot of things if we incorporate the right thing into what we're eating. Now, I stopped on my way over here at the wall. I actually stopped for a coffee. It was cold outside. But while I was there, I picked up three little snacks. And I picked up the salted peanuts, and I thought, well, that's probably going to be a pretty good choice. I picked up roasted peanuts, and I picked up roasted cashews. When I look at the sodium in these, this one, the peanuts, is 180 milligrams. These two guys have less than 20. But when I look at the packages, this is probably what I would think would be the healthier choice. But it's not. And calorie-wise, these guys, same ounces, 1.5 ounces, has double the calories of the honey roasted. I know, you're not believing me. Check out these labels. So my point is, we can't go by what we think is a good choice. Because more than likely, we're being fooled. We also can't fall into the trap of purchasing a label that just says low salt or no salt. Because this is what's happened. Sodium is just one of the components in salt. So on the label it can say no salt, but if you flip it over, there are other forms of sodium that they're adding to preserve and give it flavor. So when you're getting your tomatoes to make your sauces with, don't just reach for the one that says no salt. Flip it around and look at the actual milligrams of sodium. And keep in mind, for me, 50 and over, it's 1,500 milligrams. If I have a piece of pizza, if I have a bowl of cereal and a cup of milk, I'm at my limit. I've had all I'm supposed to have for the day. So if I'm going to be going over every single day, it is so important that I get enough potassium in my diet. So I'm making sure that the raisins or the Amazons are part of my snack. I'm making sure that I have got some viney vegetables every single day in my choices. I'm adding mushrooms to everything that I'm eating. My slice of pizza, 700 to 900 calories of sodium. I'm not going to just have a piece of cheese pizza. Put some peppers on my cheese pizza. Please, please, please add some mushrooms. Then that 700 milligrams of sodium is going to have less ill effects in my choices. And who would think we could be healthier by adding foods? Yeah.
What's the difference between sea salt and regular salt?
Good question. So sea salt is kind of the add-on these days. It sounds really cool, right? Sea salt has the same sodium as regular salt. What it's missing is that it's not iodized. Okay? And for us to have good thyroid health, we need some iodine. And more than likely, we are not getting it in other foods. So my recommendation is to leave the sea salt in the grocery store and bring home the Morton's 29 cents for a tub of it, and use that when you need some sodium in your cooking. Or I don't recommend that you keep it on the table, but if you're making your scrambled eggs and you want to sprinkle some salt, I recommend that you use the one that's been iodized. I also recommend that you salt at the end of the cooking process. So instead of salting your water to make your pot of pasta, make your pasta and then either use salt or Parmesan cheese at the end to give it that sodium flavor, so it's not absorbed into the food. The thing that hits your tongue first is the one that you remember. So if it's on the top of the food, you're going to be satisfied with less sodium. Any other questions? That's a good one. So Scott asked me to tell you about a gentleman. His name is Wayne Crawshaw. And I may invite him to come along with me to one of these lunch and learns. He followed me to one that I did a couple of weeks ago, and he's pretty amazing. He's a police officer. He's a police officer that retired from Philadelphia early, in his 50s, I think 52, because of his weight. He couldn't do his job physically any longer. And he was on 19 medications and a CPAP machine. So a CPAP machine is one of these machines that you wear at night to help you breathe. Because he would stop breathing when his tummy would roll back on his diaphragm. Wayne did our program and lost 158 pounds. Throughout that 158 pounds, we whittled away on his medications, and now he takes a multivitamin a day. He wasn't taking a multivitamin before he started the program, but he's added a multivitamin and lost 158 pounds. About 100 pounds ago, he gave his CPAP machine back. And he, like Scott, had some lower premiums and now is employable again. He no longer needs his handicap sticker for his car. He can walk as far as he would like to walk. In fact, he could probably walk from his home to this university. Pretty amazing story. And he's just one of our stories. I mean, Scott shared with you that you guys, 4 of you, have lost 120 pounds. I know the one lady that you were talking about, I think she lost about 30 pounds a couple of years ago and has kept her weight off. And that's one of the things that makes us very different. We are a Live It program. Things that you really love, we want you to keep them in your life. Things that you really don't love, we want to teach you the nutrients of it, and then you can decide what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. Somebody had something to say over here. What's going?
I said French fries.
That's my downfall.
French fries are your downfall?
High potassium, right? Potatoes.
So you are right. A white Idaho potato is going to give you about 900 milligrams of potassium. So there's no reason you would have to give up your French fries. What I would hope is that you'll move from having McDonald's French fries to having French fries that you make at home, and maybe even an oven fry. Yeah, in the oven, crisp them up. Yeah. Delicious. So here's another tidbit. When you have those French fries, do you dip them in ketchup? No? All right. So for those of you that do, or those of you that have kids that enjoy ketchup, and you go to Chick-fil-A and you get that little cup of ketchup, 520 milligrams of sodium. Yeah. How many of those do your kids use? I know. Off the charts. There is a low sodium ketchup. I like my fries with vinegar. So then I'm getting rid of all the sodium. It still gives me that little pop in my mouth. Yeah. So any other questions? I hope you heard something today that's going to spike your interest in using food as your medicine. If there's a topic that you would like to hear in the next couple of months, my email's on the bottom of that paper. Shoot me an email and let me know. My plan right now is next lunch and learn here to talk about vitamin D and bone health. That's a biggie during the winter months too, and because of the time of the year, I think that would be an excellent topic for this group. So that's kind of what we're leaning towards. But if there's something that you would really like to hear about, please let me know and we'll try to incorporate that. If you have an interest in our program, in the Living Healthy program, and you'd like a sample class, you are always welcome in the classes that are run here at Westchester. Or I can give you one of our little tickets and you can do any of the community classes, and they're listed on the back. So there are local community classes that you can take this and just come in for a free sample. Each of the classes are a little bit different, and we really try hard to partner the nurse, the nutritionist, the dietitian with the group. So, you know, the program that we run down in Philadelphia, I have a gentleman that does those classes because he's talking to a lot of police officers. He might have 2 women and 20 men in his classes. We also try to partner age groups. So if you go to one of the classes and you think this is just not for me, try one of the others. Or, please come out to the classes that we have here.
Can you take a moment to talk about what you're doing with some of the local restaurants, since for many of us going out to eat becomes our nemesis? So can you talk about?
It is a huge challenge. Every year we pick a project. This past summer we decided that we were going to reach out to restaurants that did not provide nutritional information and help them do that. So right now we have 4 restaurants that are fully trained and on board with going in and giving you a living healthy choice. So you can go in and know that something has less than 500 calories, less than 500 milligrams of sodium, and less than 9 grams of fat. So it's good choices just off the cuff. So you're not having to read that menu and try to figure out how much am I really putting in my body. Those restaurants are local restaurants. So any patron that goes into a place that's a chain restaurant that has more than 10 establishments, the nutritional information is available, but it's not usually readily available. So if you're going to I don't know, Olive Garden, you can sit down and before you order, ask for their menu that has all the nutrition on it. And they'll bring you a special menu and you can see, oh, if I order this salad, I'm going to be having 600 calories in a salad. So that information is there for all chains, but we're trying to get to the point that we can go to our favorite establishments and have choices that are good for us. We're working hard. We have one dietitian that's doing that exclusively. What we have found is they do very well with the concept, but when we go in the kitchen with them and we start telling the chef that he can't just pick up the salt and go, or the olive oil and pour, we want you to measure that if we're going to be telling people how much you're giving them. They bump a little bit, so that's been our biggest challenge in getting this off the ground. Anyone want one of our tickets before I leave? Or if you have questions for me individually, we can talk individually. The next lecture line I think will probably be bone health. It'll be on vitamin D and some of the culprits that occur when we're not getting enough vitamin D. It's known as the sunshine vitamin. So from now until May, we're going to be deficient in that area. So there's lots of things that we can do to combat the winter blues, if you will, and keep our cells moving along like they need to. Our meetings are focused to what's going on in the world and what's going on in our lives. So our hope is that all of our members make it through the holidays, this Bermuda Triangle of weight gain, if you will, without finding any extra pounds. In fact, our members lose weight when everyone else is gaining weight. And then, we don't need resolutions because come January 1st, we haven't found what everyone else did with all the office parties and the family get-togethers and the Christmas cookies and, you name it. So you are more than welcome to jump in any of those classes as a guest. I think it's real important to keep our focus this time of year.